Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be able to tell you a little bit about what's been happening in the UK regarding the Beef Shorthorn Cattle Society during the last 3 years since we last met in New Zealand in 2013. Certainly been a very interesting and exciting time. We've heard from a few of the delegates that the beef prices around the world sort of peaked about 18 months, 2 years ago, and that's been the case in the UK as well, but with the slight decline in prices, it hasn't dented the enthusiasm of the commercial breeder to use beef Shorthorn genetics in their herd, as they realise that the low cost and ability to produce meat from grass is one of the most profitable ways of producing beef. And this has affected our society as well. I always like to show the graph of where the registrations are going in membership, and you'll see here that in the last 16, 17, 18 years we've seen a tremendous increase in the number of registrations. From 582 registrations, in 1998 we're now doing almost 4,000 registrations a year. We've seen an increase of 39% in the last 5 years, and similarly with membership. You'll see there at 2,000 with 286 members. We now have 808 on that graph, and I think that's grown in fact a little bit more now, so we're probably near 150 membership. So that's a 42% increase in membership over the last 5 years. So these figures, I know that there are some Breed Society chief executives and secretaries in the audience, and I'm sure they would agree that any graph that can show those sorts of figures is a graph which is very pleasing to any Breed Society secretary. But this growth in pedigree registrations is also borne out in our British Cattle Movement Services registrations, which publish the figures every 12 months, and they break the population of beef cattle in the UK down into different breeds. And when you bear in mind that the number of beef cattle in the UK has been decreasing over the last 8 years, this graph is quite remarkable. It shows that over the last 8 years, beef Shorthorns have increased in population by 64%, a tremendous figure, more than double the amount of the next highest increase in population, which is the Longhorns. And when you look at that graph, you will see that the Shorthorn, the Longhorn, the Angus and the Hereford, the native breeds, have all increased the population over the last 8 years, whereas the continental breeds, the Simmental, Limousin, Charolais and Blondes, have all seen a decrease in the population during that same time period. And I think that's a trend which is increasing, and it's 8 years isn't a long time in cattle breeding. And if we look at what's going to happen in the future, if that trend and those percentages are maintained over the next 10-year period, we will find that Angus will have overtaken Limousin as the most numerous cattle breed, beef cattle breed in the UK. But more importantly, we will find that there will be more beef Shorthorn and Shorthorn cross animals in the UK than Charolais and Charolais cross animals. And that's a tremendous thing to say, and it would be a tremendous achievement if that occurs. But how is this increase in popularity reflected in the membership and what they receive for their cattle? We have seen record sale prices at the bull sales in February 2014, seen record averages for bulls of £5,457, and we've seen more bulls sold. Similarly with females, we've seen record prices for females and very, very good clearances. And at Carlisle we saw an average of 2,725 for the females, an example of the fact that the commercial people as well as the pedigree people are looking for more beef Shorthorns. But as a society we have to try and continue to improve the breed, we have to promote the breed, and we have various initiatives by which we can do that. I spoke a few years ago of the initiative we had regarding health schemes and the display of pen cards at society sales. These were made mandatory 5 years ago and have been accepted by the membership and by the industry at large, and very interesting to see now that another large beef society has in fact gone down the same route, and this year has insisted on mandatory health information being displayed at sales. So that's one initiative that we've been working very strongly on over the last few years. And the next one that we included in the last 12 months is a type classification scheme for beef shorthorn females. And you might say, why do we need a type classification scheme? Well, coming from a dairy background, and there are dairy people, delegates here today, you will be aware that type classification is very, very widely used in the dairy industry, and it's used on the females to try and identify the females which will breed the next generation of bulls, which will pass on the female traits to their offspring. And when we remember that beef shorthorn is a maternal breed, then really we want to do exactly the same thing, and we mustn't get distracted from the fact that the beef shorthorn is a maternal breed. The fact that we have a scheme with Morrison's and we get a bonus for the steers is exactly that, it's a bonus, but the core product of the beef shorthorn, it is a maternal breed. And we sell bulls to breed replacement females. So we know that not all the maternal traits are visible in the bull, but when you go to buy a bull, you've no idea what the dam looked like or the grand dam looked like. So we felt we needed to identify the best females which conform to certain recognised structural requirements, which can then be passed on genetically through the bull to the next generation of females. And so we're improving the breed by selecting the best bulls. So in order to do this, the Breed Development Committee identified 14 structural traits which they felt were important in a functional suckler cow. And these structural traits are the traits which you would look at with any breed of animal really. You're looking at stature, you're looking at length from the shoulders to the pelvis, you're looking at chest width, rump angle, udder attachment, teat placement, all these traits, feet, leg set and depth of heel, all these traits which are important in any animal. And that we have a linear scoring system where each of the 14 traits is scored on a scale of 1 to 9, irrespective of desirability. It's really an objective assessment of what the animal looks like. And then going on from that, there's a composite classification, which is more of a subjective analysis, and this is split into 4 different categories. Each of the categories is scored out of 100 and give different weightings, and when those weightings are applied, the totals are added up to give a final score of fitted into a category of excellent, VG, good plus good, fair or poor. With any type classification procedure, with any scheme, the one thing which is absolutely essential is that the inspections are consistent and reliable, and to achieve that we've actually employed Holstein UK classifiers to actually do the inspections, and so that they are classifying them to our requirements. We've held workshops on farm with the classifiers and members of our Breed Development Committee, and we've explained exactly what we're looking for in the beef shorthorn cow. They've taken that on board, and they've now done over 1,000 animals. We've over 60 herds still waiting to be done, and the initial reaction from all the herds who've been classified is that they are very, very pleased with the way that the classifications have been done. And I have to say, I don't think I've had any complaints yet about the classifications from the herds. So we're very confident that these people can carry out the classifications in a very reliable manner. The composite classification I mentioned, 4 categories, and a different weighting is applied to each of those categories. So we've got 25% for the body, 25% for beef character, 30% for feet and legs, and 20% for mammary. And at the bottom there is an example. So you multiply the score that the classifier gives them by the weighting to get a figure at the end. It's obviously you multiply it by the percentage and divide by 100. When you add those totals up on that animal, you get a total score of 83, which is puts in the category good plus, which is a very sound average beef Shorthorn animal. And that final score indicates the cow's overall classification category. Excellent 90 to 100, VG 85 to 89, good plus 80 to 84, good 75 to 79, and so on. And I've gone through that fairly quickly. If anybody wants to know a little bit more about the classification, then by all means have a word with me later and I can explain it in more detail. But there is a brochure explaining it all on our website, www.shorthorn.co.uk. Having had the classification done, we now need to decide what we're going to do with that information. There's no point whatsoever in classifying animals and not using that information. So we have decided that after an animal is being classified, that classification will be appended to the animal's name, and that is compulsory. It's not optional. It doesn't matter whether it's a good classification or a bad classification. That classification goes behind the animal's name. It indicates that the animal has been classified, and it indicates the standard of classification to which it was achieved. So that will appear on subsequent pedigree certificates. It will appear on online database and on sale catalogues, and you'll see there that animal, that's taken from a sale catalogue. You will see that animal, the dam, classified excellent 90. So you know that its dam was a very sound animal. And I think we'll find as we go into the future that people will be looking to breed bulls from good dam lines, dams where we've got dam and grand dam classified, VG and excellent. And I think that will be a tremendous way to select the best animals to breed the bulls which are going to produce the next generation of females. So I'm very, very optimistic about the scheme, and I know that we are the first large breed society to do it to this degree, and there already have been at least 5 other breed societies have been inquiring about the scheme and whether or not they should be doing something similar. So it's created a great deal of interest within the industry, and I feel it will be a great benefit to the breed in the future. We are also continuing with our partnership with Morrison's, a very successful partnership, and this year we have published, or Morrison's have published a brochure along with ourselves, which is aimed at the commercial producer and explaining the scheme and explaining how they can get involved with the scheme. And so from our point of view, one of the most important pages in this document is the piece on developing the beef Shorthorn brand, because we keep telling people about how wonderful it is to the beef Shorthorn beef it is to eat, the marbling and wonderful texture and wonderful taste. And so people then say, well, where can we buy this wonderful product? And of course the problem is at the moment, until we have a branded product, well, I'm sorry, you can't buy it except in the niche markets where you get the local butchers or local restaurants which are serving beef Shorthorn. It isn't generally available to the public. So the sooner we can get a brand, the sooner we can get a brand into the supermarket, the more we can develop that brand and make the public more aware of what beef Shorthorn actually tastes like. And so it's very, 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 very good to see that Morrison's are putting into the public domain their aims to develop this brand. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but it says now our objective is to grow that supply of beef Shorthorn side cattle until we have gained sufficient numbers to launch in-store beef Shorthorn branded beef product. And for a supermarket to put that in print, I think is a huge commitment, and so we very much look forward to the branded beef Shorthorn beef being available in the Morrison's supermarket in 2017. The beef Shorthorn scheme, or the signature range, which is the traditional beef range in Morrison's stores, needs about 15,000 animals killed annually to fill that demand. And if you look at the figures there, you'll see that in the Morrison's abattoirs last year, they actually killed 7,473, which is approximately 50% of the required kill to fill that scheme. So it can only be launched immediately in selected stores. But when you look at the number of beef Shorthorn side cattle killed in all abattoirs in the UK, you will see there that in 2015 there were actually 31,000 animals killed. And so if we could just get 50% of those kill into the Morrison's abattoirs, we'd be able to fill the scheme. So we are looking at Morrison's at the possibility of opening dedicated finishing units which will take on weaned beef Shorthorn side calves into the system and then rear them and finish them and get them into the Morrison's abattoirs, and so hopefully increase the number going in, and so we can achieve the 100% branded product as quickly as possible. We've heard various people earlier in the last 2 days talk about publicity and what does the society do to publicise the breed. Well, what we do, we have a beef publicity committee. We do employ a PR consultancy. It's Liz Snaith who runs that, and we have 2 meetings a year, and at the beginning of the year we do map out certain number of articles which we want to appear in the press, and we target when we're going to release those to the press, because we feel it's very important that people reading in the agricultural press and in the agricultural magazines, if they see beef Shorthorn, if they see well-known producers, well-known commercial men using beef Shorthorn bulls and getting good results, then it's a little bit of a drip approach. They see the name beef Shorthorn, they see people doing well. Yes, it's the fashion, and farmers, like anybody else, are fashionable. They like to be in the latest fashion, and if we can make beef Shorthorn fashionable, then more people will use the breed. So we have been very successful at getting articles in the press and in various magazines. And of course, when our patron, the Princess Royal, attends any of our functions, then I think we're almost guaranteed excellent press coverage. And so we are very grateful to the Princess Royal. She's an excellent patron, and when she does appear, we certainly get plenty of publicity. We've also made the front cover of various farming magazines this year, and again that's better than any paid advertising can ever achieve. If you get beef Shorthorn on the front cover, it's there in the face of all the beef farmers who are reading the magazines. So beef farmer, cattle breeder, we've had front page coverage. You see there a picture of the presenter of St Paul's with a beef Shorthorn, and I'll tell you a little bit about the story to that. It was a friend of ours, Howard Venters, who's a publisher of cattle magazines. He wanted to initiate a celebration of British livestock in the centre of London. He wanted to take British livestock into London, and so he asked me what I thought about it, and I think it was probably after a few beers after the Cattle Breeders Conference. I said, what a fantastic idea, Howard, and then thought about it next morning. But he did go and he put on this fantastic show, and I'm very, very grateful that Charles and Sally Horrell agreed to provide us with 2 Shorthorn heifers, and as it happened on the day, it was fantastic publicity for the breed. We took 2 beef Shorthorn heifers. They were blessed on the steps of St Paul's by the precentor of St Paul's Cathedral. He put through the holy water of them and blessed them. They were then escorted down Ludgate Hill into Fleet Street by the mounted police and by the escorted by the light cavalry from the Honourable Artillery Company, and the streets were lined with people, and a procession of people involved in the day's proceedings followed the cattle down the streets. They went down to walked down Fleet Street. They were taken into the courtyard alongside St Bride's Church. People went into St Bride's Church. We had a wonderful Christmas service celebrating British livestock, and then following the service back to the Stationers' Hall, where 300 people, all connected to the agricultural industry, journalists, vets, members of feed companies, banking organisations, retailers, sat down to a very, very excellent lunch, and of course on the menu it was beef Shorthorn, supplied generously by Morrison. So the whole day's proceedings were all about a celebration of British livestock, and in fact the only breed to be mentioned by name throughout the whole of the day was beef Shorthorn. So it was a fantastic day and a fantastic amount of publicity for the breed. We've also published a commercial brochure this year, which is aimed entirely at the commercial producer, about the functional suckler cow. We distribute this at shows and sales. We put it in the information which goes out to all bull purchasers from our society sales, and we've also sent some off to Morrison's to send out to their commercial buyers, so that people will know more and more about the commercial attributes of the beef Shorthorn. And we've also, as I saw earlier, published this magazine in conjunction with Morrison's, and very pleased to see that Morrison's are very happy to advertise this as a Morrison's Beef Shorthorn Society Partnership. And I think the fact that it is a partnership is very important. We are working with Morrison's, they're working with us to try and get this branded product onto the shelves. We heard earlier today, we've just heard Anthony Fountain's video link, and Anthony is very keen on social media and getting the message out there, and so we do have a Facebook page. It now has over 2,000 likes, so anything we put on there goes immediately onto 2,000 people's Facebook pages. And of course the amount of information that can be spread via this is huge. So when we had our recent day in London, we put a short video on the Facebook page, and that week our Facebook page was seen by over 16,000 people. That's an amount of advertising which is absolutely free, and I don't know how else you could achieve that level of interest in the breed. And of course a lot of those people won't know what beef Shorthorn is. They might not be interested in beef Shorthorn, but as we build a brand and as we get beef Shorthorn branded meat onto the supermarket shelves, there will be an association with the fact that they've seen beef Shorthorn in videos. They will see the beef Shorthorn logo on products of meat in the Morrison supermarket, and so it just helps to build a brand and helps to build people's awareness of what beef Shorthorn is and how good it is to eat. And of course the other thing is the website, which we keep it up to date as much as possible, because that's the first port of call that anybody goes to. So these are all the ways in which we help to keep the breed in the public eye. We've also heard a lot in the last 2 days about the next generation and how it's important to bring on the young members, and we do encourage our youngsters. We have a young members or young people's open day and workshop every year, and they learn about clipping, they learn about handling, they learn about showing, they learn about how to handle themselves and present themselves in the ring when they're showing the cattle. And there's also a young show starts competition which started last year. It's open to all teams of young people, and they have to select their animals to animals. They have to prepare them, clip them, show them. They also have to answer questions about the beef industry in general. They have to produce a stand to promote the breed. And we had 2 teams entered this year, and out of 45 teams. We're delighted to see, I think one of our teams came 6th, but they presented themselves very, very well, and I think it bodes very well for the next generation. So where does the future take us? And maybe when we're looking at the future, we have to look at the past and where have we come from. When we've come from a very low starting point in the year 2000 with 600 registrations. We've seen a resurgence in the native breeds. I'm very pleased to say that beef Shorthorn has been at the forefront of that resurgence, and we have to say we have to commend our breeders who they've bred a type of animal which is suited to the commercial market. We must always remember that without a commercial market, without commercial viability, there's no point at all in breeding pedigree animals. So the breeders have responded to the demands of that commercial market, and they've bred the animals which have been suitable for that market. The society also has a role to play in the resurgence of the breeds. It's promoting performance recording, it promotes the high health status of the animals, it provides new initiatives such as type classifying, and I'm very pleased to say that these are things which we as a society offer back to our members to help them to market their cattle. And lastly, I mentioned the word cooperation. I think in the future it is very, very important that we cooperate. And I say that coming from a point of view of I act as secretary for both the Dairy Shorthorn Society and the Beef Shorthorn Society, and there has to be a great degree of cooperation between the 2 societies, but that works for both of the societies in the fact that they can share resources, they can share office facilities, they can share office furniture and equipment, they can share staff costs, they can share marquees and displays at various events, and all this it's a tremendous help to actually keep the costs of running a society lower while still providing a first-class service to our members. And cooperation goes further than that. It also goes towards cooperating with other organisations, with the health schemes, with the people who run these health schemes. We can cooperate with them, we can give feedback to them what is important from the breed societies, and we have to cooperate with them. And supermarkets, like it or not, they are here to stay. They do sell more product, more groceries than any other shops that we can ever hope to imagine, and we have to cooperate with them. And so the cooperation between ourselves and in this case Morrison's hugely important, and I think that the cooperation is working very well, and the partnership, and we have to look to the future not to be isolated but to be cooperative. And I think if we can do that and achieve that, we have a very, very bright future, and I'm very, very excited for the next few years for Beef Shorthorns, and I hope that in 3 years' time in Australia we'll have even more good news to tell you all. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you all in Australia in 3 years' time.